Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Javon Harrington, back to hit you with another video. And today, we are here to continue One Piece Rangers of the Sea, based on the Heroes of the Morphing Grid series, Part 8. But first and foremost, if you're a fan of the channel and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that has to come out now and in the future. Well guys, we have finally made it. For something that started over a year ago along with our anime Marvel series, we have finally reached that point. After this and the next part in this series, we will have officially wrapped up the saga of the Heroes of the Morphing Grid. From My Hero Academia, to Neon Genesis Evangelion, to Fire Force, to everything in between, Naruto, Jujutsu Kaisen, and now One Piece. This is something that I am truly proud of for making, mainly because you guys have been here to support me from the very beginning. You've given your suggestions, your feedbacks. Some stories we've had to stop and start again. But I'm happy to say that we were able to see this through to almost its completion. With now this part, tomorrow, and then the final crossover event taking place next week. I am truly going to say that I am thankful to all of you who supports PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. As I always say, I cannot do it without you. You make the channel grow, you make the core grow. And you are just as important to the story that has been told as anyone else. So for taking time out of your day to listen to all of my stories, to follow along on this journey, I thank you. But now, without any further ado, let's get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Of all of the Straw Hat Pirates, 2 of them were actually sent to the same place. Of course, not that it changed their situation either for the better or for the worse, but we found the pairing of Brooke and Frankie, both traveling together, moving at blinding speeds, moving across the vast ocean as they had been sent away by Kuma from Sabaody. Before long, they both crashed into an island, both in their respective paw-like craters, as they dug their way out. For Frankie, it was easy enough to say the least. He was a little damaged, but he could self-repair. And as for Brooke, well, he probably would have felt that deep within his skin, if he had any skin. I mean, he probably might have had a broken bone or two, but then again, he was all bones. As the 2 of them made their way, they were given the same message as all of the others. Although for them, theirs was something different. They weren't looking for a morpher in particular. No, they had to find a secret, a place only they could enter. Of course, being on an island covered in dense jungle, well, that was easier said than done. Although thankfully, there were a lot of upgrades within Frankie's body, allowing him to scan the island bit by bit as they continued their journey forward. For the 2, they didn't require anything like food or other forms of sustenance, so theoretically they could continue their search day or night. It was easy enough to say the least, as the pair walked with one another. both relenting in their loss and the various battle that had taken place. The fact that they had been decimated so easily, it really bothered them. But now not only were they worried for their own sake, but the sake of their friends, for Luffy, for his brother. To rejoin with the crew as soon as possible, they couldn't afford to delay. As they continued their journey through the island, it seemed as though they were never going to find what they were looking for. That was until Franky's scanner finally went off, alerting him to a particular part of the island that wasn't all natural. It was hidden pretty well enough. It looked as though it were nothing more but the side of a mountain. But when you examined closely, it was actually mechanical in nature. It seemed as though there were a wall, like some type of gate keeping them out, and there was something inside. Seeing this as an opportunity, both Franky and Brook would work together to open this door. Within time, it revealed a secret entrance into the side of a mountain, like a hidden cave, one that wouldn't easily be accessible. For Franky, being the technological genius that he was able to see pretty much that it was a workshop of sorts. There were various gadgets and other contraptions strewn all about. The deeper they made their way inside, they saw other forms and artifacts. There were swords, guns, a couple of maps, schematics, and everything in between. Franky searched for a light switch, and eventually he was able to find one. Although the moment that they had cut it on, it took a moment for everything to start working. They were able to hear a lot of the machinery, although a lot of it was past its prime. In the end, there was one thing of note. It was a bird. A mechanical parrot, if you will. It seemed to have been lifeless, sitting in the middle of the room, before its eyes would start to glow, its arms flapping up and down as it looked around at who it were being surrounded by. Where am I? Are you the ones who activated me? You could say that. My name's Franky, and I am Brook. Nice to meet you. I see. Franky, Brook, I take it, are you allies to the Gokaiger? The Gokaiger? Yes. The team, my team, the Gokaiger Rangers. Have you heard of them? I can't really say that I have. We were actually sent here by someone who told us to seek out this island's secrets. Something about a great power. I've heard of these Rangers, though, but I've never heard the full name Gokaiger. Does it mean anything to you, Brook? Well, it might just be but a tale. After all, we've heard faint stories up until now. But there was once the legend of the Rangers of the Sea. A legend? Rangers of the Sea? All my life I grew up in Warrior 7. I never heard of anything like this. Well, it's just an old folklore, not one of really any substance. It was said that there were a team of pirates who sailed the ocean themselves. A team that was unlike any other that the world had ever seen. Not much was known about them, and their power was rather mysterious. It was one so great that it could even rival the government of the world itself. Are you kidding? Come on, one crew that could take on the world government? Oh, but it's true. Huh? Wait, you mean to say you've been alive that long to know of who these Gokaigers were? Well, yes. Although, technically speaking, there were more than one. You see, the last time I was operated, I was installed to be a part of the 7th generation. The 7th generation? Yes. I believe this is the time period of the 7th century, is it not? Both Franky and Brook would look at him cautiously before they would return an answer. I believe you might be confused, little buddy. We're currently in the 9th era. The 9th? Yeah. This is currently the 9th era of the New World. But that would mean... Oh no. For Brooke, he was all too familiar with that expression. Time could often be a cruel thing. He should know. For him, it had only been 50 years since he had seen his friend, a whale named LeBloom. And even still, it felt as though so much more had passed since then. To learn that for over 200 years, the people of whom you had come to be close with were no longer present in the world, leaving you all alone, well, that was more than what anyone should endure, even a mechanical bird. Hey, listen, I'm sorry. I had no idea. It's just... It's fine. I just didn't think that they would be gone. Master told me that he was going to return soon. Your master? Yes, Captain Marvelous of the Go-Kaijers. Captain Red. He was our leader. He put me here long ago, before they set out, and promised that they would return. Now that I'm online, I can sense their signatures once again. Wait, you can? Yes, I can sense that Go-Kaiser Red has been reactivated. His coordinates show that he is currently in Impel Down, although it seems as though he is making his way towards an area. It looks to be the area for Marine Headquarters. Marineford? That must be Luffy. Luffy? Who is Luffy? You don't know who Straw Hat Luffy is? You know, one of the new pirates of the worst generation? No, I have no data for that. I'm sorry. Even so, can you tell me more about this Straw Hat Luffy? Oh, why yes. He's the captain of our crew, Monkey D. Luffy. Did you say D? As in, a member of the D clan? I would presume so. I mean, after all, the D clan aren't looked to that much favorably. But all the same, have the D clan really been around for that long if you know about them? Oh yes, the D clan were very prominent. I believe the last one that I knew was one that went by a nickname. I think his name was Joy Boy. Joy Boy? Who is Joy Boy? I don't really know much about him. There were just stories that had been told. It was believed that my captain met with this one known as Joy Boy long ago, and based off of the intel, it was said that he had a particular devil fruit, although its data has become corrupted and I've been unable to find any more about it. I see. Can you tell me about the other signatures? Yes. Go-Kaiser's blue, green, pink, yellow, gold, and silver have all been activated, and they appear to all be making their way from various locations to the same destination. Whoa, did you hear that, Brooke? It looks like they actually did it. They found what they were looking for, and now they're all making their way to Marineford. It means we don't have time to lose. We've got to get there fast. Listen, we were sent here by someone who said that we would find the great power on this island. Do you know anything about that? Well, I don't really know in particular. Our crew had many treasures and secrets, although to be honest, much of them have been lost due to time and damage and wear. Currently within myself, I only hold 2 of the many artifacts that we once collected. Artifacts? Yes, you could say that they were the sacred treasures, ancient powers, if you will. Honestly, I wasn't really sure if I should trust you all, but if you were sent here, and you were indeed capable of finding me, then it must mean that you were chosen for a reason. Well, in all honesty, there are only 7 Gokaiger officially. There were never any more than that. But still, from my scanners and what I can see, you both are rather powerful, and I believe I have something that might benefit you. The mechanical parrot would open up its chest, revealing inside of it 2 particular artifacts. The first was the silver head with a golden mane. It was that of a lion. Frankie would take it into his hand. And as for Brook, he held in his hand a medallion with a chain that he would place around his neck. After all, his neck was nothing but bones, after all. But with it was a key. It was a black key. It looked as though it were the figure of someone, although he wasn't sure of who. These are the 2 artifacts that I have been entrusted with. For you, Mr. Frankie, that there is the Lion Knight's head. It was imbued with power from the Morphing grid, although we were never actually able to use it in battle. It was believed that it could be an upgraded armor form. And for you, Mr. Brook, that there is a Ranger key. It was one that I had just kept stored within myself since I didn't want it to get lost. That there is just a spare morpher used with parts. It can't give you access to any of the other powers, but when you use that key, you can have the powers of that one. And what is it? It's the power of a legendary warrior known as the Magna Defender. He was a warrior from the 4th century, or the 4th generation if you will. Although tragically he and his people died. It was believed that they were wiped out and their island completely destroyed. His essence and his will are said to be of the last of his kind, and they are what remain within that key. Understandable. But you would trust us with such things? Well, yes. I don't know much, to be honest. I have the power of clairvoyance, although it's quite limited. I can't really see or do much of anything, but before I was shut down, I had a premonition that the power would rise once again, and that there would be a new team of Gokaiger. If what I am to believe is true, my master and my team have long since perished from this world. But if a new one has risen to take its place, then I put faith in that. A mechanical being having faith. Well, you see something new every day. But still, I wonder how I could use this thing. Try combining it to your core. I believe once the 2 are in sync, you may learn of what to do. Well, it's worth a try. Frankie would open a core within his robotic chest. A core just big enough as he would make a few extra parts to link the 2 together. Placing the lion's head next to the core, he would close the chest cavity shut. Instantly, the information and the data would be sent to his mind. He would understand a lot more than he used to. He would understand this power. He would know of its origin and just how it was supposed to work. And he could even know how to activate it. He told Brook to stand back, as he held his hands together, before his eyes would glow as he yelled, "Robo Knight form, activate." Instantly, his body would transform into that of the Robo Knight itself. You could say it was an upgraded robotic form. It's a power that worked via the Morphing grid, although the Robo Knight in particular wasn't a ranger, so to speak. He was just someone who could draw power from the Morphing grid in its own way. You could say he was a ranger robot, robotic armor, something along those lines. Something that Frankie would have been more accustomed to, as he was more on the technical side of things. As for Brook, he took one look at his medallion before placing the key within the hole. After turning it, he would be engulfed by the energy of the Magna Defender as he donned the Magna Defender's armor, becoming the new Magna Defender in and of itself. For both Brook and Frankie, they were surprised by this new power-up, but as for Navi, it thrilled him to see now that the Gokaiger had returned and that they would be even stronger than ever before. There was no telling. Of course, now with the power of the Robo Knight on Frankie's side, there were many other schematics and other diagrams that he now had within himself. He was able to see just what he had in his arsenal and what he had to work with. To his side, he was able to pull out something that appeared to be akin to a Denden Mushi, although all robotic in nature. He could use it to activate his various arsenal of weapons. Now knowing this, as well as Brook having his soul sword be akin to him with his Magna Defender uniform, the two had now achieved the power-up that they had needed. But now their main focus was making their way to Marineford, as that was their next location. Navi would ask if he could join them, believing that now that the team had returned, it would be his honor to serve with the next generation. Frankie and Brook were more than eager to bring him along, Frankie believing that there was still a lot more that the two of them could do. With the schematics that he now had within himself, there was a lot more that he could do for the Thousand Sunny when they got back to it. The possibilities were endless. The two would stand together as they made their way from out of the cave, Navi looking back at it for the last time, remembering when he had been hidden away there by Captain Marvelous all those years ago. Now he was going to be moving on to a new team, a new family. Of course, there was still the issue though of Brook not being able to swim and that he couldn't afford to fall into the water. However, Frankie had something for this. Using his now Sailor Denden Mushi, he would summon a vehicle to their disposal, something akin to a motorbike, but for water. And so, the two of them would hop on, with Navi taking the front, giving them the coordinates to Marineford, as now they were on their way as well. And it seemed as though now the time had finally come. All of the Straw Hats had managed to find the power that they had looked for. For some, they had to overcome their own inner demons and the darkness within, overcoming their own self-doubt, overcoming their own struggles, improving and changing in order to be what they needed to be. And now, the only thing that was left to do was to meet with their captain. But how has Luffy been doing in the midst of all of these new adventures? Well, Luffy was getting accustomed to his new power. Of course, physically, he still wasn't in the best of shape. After all, he hadn't truly had a chance to rest from the moment he was sent from the Sabaody archipelago, to the time that he had searched for his power, to the time that he had stowed away with Boa Hancock in order to get as close to his brother as possible. Leading a ragtag team of escapees from Impel Down, including the likes of Jinbei, the former warlord and fishman, Crocodile, one of his adversaries from Alabasta, Mr. 1 and Mr. 3, and even Buggy coming along for the ride. Luffy, along with his merry band, had escaped from the impenetrable prison of the seas, and were now making their way to Marineford, as the base had everything set up for the execution of Fire Fist Ace. In the meantime, Ace, he had accepted this outcome. He had accepted that this was going to be where it ended. Personally, he had no doubts. He knew from the time that he was born, this was the life he was willing to live, and the life that he was ultimately willing to die for. Being the son of Gold D. Roger, it didn't mean anything to him. The only thing he cared about was his crew. He cared about Whitebeard and all of the others. He did wish, though, that he could see his brother one more time. His grandfather, Garp, he only shook his head in pity. He was bound by his duty and unable to oppose it. But even still, there was a strong urge within him. A strong urge to fight. But he knew better. The warlords were gathered as well. Kuma, Moria, Doflamingo, Mihawk, and Boa Hancock. The Marines, all standing on the coastline at the ready. Even Kobe was there also. Among them, though, were the 3 Marine admirals, Kizaru, Akainu, and Aokiji. 3 truly terrifying specimens in their own right. They were foreseeing what was going to come, for they knew full and well that this was going to be a day unlike any other. Taking the stand, Sengoku would tell the audience and many others who watched around of the crimes that had been committed by Fire Fist Ace, giving the public address before the execution. Porcus D. Rogue, otherwise known the mother of Ace, a woman from the South Blue, who had given birth to the child of the notorious pirate king Gold D. Roger. That boy had grown to be known as Fire Fist Ace, a general for the Whitebeard pirates. As such, he was sentenced to execution. For everyone involved in this situation, this would be a day unlike any other. For Garp, he had failed to keep a promise to someone he respected very much. For Ace, he felt as though this were going to be the end. That was until they felt a tremor, as massive waves and tsunamis began to shake from every direction. Ace looked on to see the flags of the Whitebeard pirates, along with the other pirate fleets that had been called in by Whitebeard as favors, all coming together for one sole purpose, of saving Ace and bringing him home. Among them, though, was none other than Monkey D. Luffy, as he looked with a fury in his eye. As Ace looked across, even from a great distance, he could see his father. He could even see his close friends. And among them was his brother. Whitebeard had made it very clear that he had come to save Ace, and that he really didn't care for the outcome of Monkey D. Luffy, and he told him not to get in his way. However, Luffy was one to say the same, since after all, he had been given this chance. A chance to save his brother, and one that he was not going to pass up. As the Marines stood at the ready, the Whitebeard pirates preparing to invade, before anyone could do anything, Luffy would grab both sides of the boat before walking back as his arms stretched wide. Gum Gum Rocket! Luffy, slinging himself like a slingshot, would go flying forward into the enemy. They began to shoot at him, but their bullets did nothing as they bounced off of his skin and on back to the ones who shot them. As Luffy landed on the ground, a shockwave would blast everyone back. As the 3 main admirals sitting from their high place looked down, even from the great distance, they could tell that it was none other than the infamous Monkey D. Luffy. The boy of whom they had actually recently learned of his origins as well, and that he was the son of the notorious revolutionary Dragon. It seemed as though fate was smiling upon them, as they were now going to be rid of the devil seeds of two of the most infamous enemies that the world government had faced in the last 100 years. However, Luffy was far from the average pirate. As he reached his hand towards his side, he pulled out the Sailor Morpher as he looked up to Ace, determined to save his brother. I'm going to give you one chance. You stand down, or you face the consequences. Like we'd ever take orders from you, Straw Hat. We won't stop until we take your life. Very well then. You've made your decision. Luffy took his key and placed it within the Sailor Morpher, turning it as it glowed a bright red, and an aura flashed around him. He instantly transformed before their very eyes, even the three admirals looking in surprise of what they were seeing, as they didn't expect Luffy to be able to pull off something like this. Something that seemed oddly familiar, and yet at the same time ominous and dangerous. As the flashing glow had finished, what stood before them was a warrior anew, a warrior whose fiery heart ran ablaze. He wasn't sure of when his crew was going to arrive, but the only thing he could do now was have faith that they would back him up. But for now, he was going to lead the charge, as the Red Pirate Ranger was ready for action. The battle lines had been drawn, the pirates on one side and the Marines on the other, Whitebeard standing at his ship waiting in the ready. This was going to be a day that would never be forgotten, but not just for this world. No, this would be a day that would go down in history, in worlds far and wide, in worlds beyond the stars. The fate of potentially the multiverse would be on the fringe. And when they ask, where did it all start? Where did the battle for everything and anything take fold? You can tell them that it all started at the Battle of Marineford. This concludes One Piece Rangers of the Sea Part 8. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that's come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video, as we will now be concluding the series with Part 9 of One Piece Rangers of the Sea, based on the heroes of the Morphing Grid series. But that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.